Landlords do not hire a property manager based on fees exclusive. Here's the bottom line. We're excited about starting this video podcast.
We are.
Right? We've been wrestling with the name. We talked about Navigate Invest, a video podcast about property management.
That's like a mouthful though, right? Hey guys, welcome to Navigate Invest, a video podcast about property management.
Well, a lot of people do that, especially in this niche, right? Niche. Yeah.
Niche.
Yeah. New York City public school education.
All right.
So take it easy on me.
I know.
Okay.
I try.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Navigate Invest podcast.
I like that.
I'm Ernesto.
I'm Judy.
And this podcast is going to be about what?
It's going to be a video podcast about property management.
Well, in particular, we're going to talk about what you need to know, 4 things you need to know or you should know when it comes to picking a property manager.
Right.
And just to, probably more importantly, a property management company. Let's start with the distinction between a property manager and a property management company.
Yeah. I mean, I would say if you're looking at a property management company, there are some expectations there as far as the value that company is going to bring because you're paying them, right?
Yeah.
And then also your expectations as far as consistency, right? If you're a company, typically there's some sort of, I mean, you're accountable, right? If you're a company, you're going to be accountable to somebody. In property management, in property management, who are we accountable to?
It's multi-layered. The state,
right?
The client, the investor, the resident, the vendors, right? It's multi-layered. There's
it goes all the way up. Federal.
Yeah, this is a multi-layered business, really and that's why the liability is so high.
True.
Right? If you do something wrong, you can lose a lot.
Yeah.
Which is hurtful.
It does. It goes all the way up. So we have the IRS. We got to run above bar business.
Yep. And here's the reality. You can pick a good property management company and end up with a bad property manager.
Ooh.
That's the reality, right?
Yeah,
because you're still dealing with people. So
yeah.
I think that's one of the important components when it comes to trying to find someone who's going to take care of your investment. But it also works vice versa. You can find a good property manager and they have a not so good property management company that they work for.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Because in the state of Texas, you got to be licensed, right, as a property manager, right? Because you're doing rent collections. And we're talking specifically about single family homes.
Right.
That's something that you need to be thinking about.
That's true. Yeah. And so that's a very good point. So there's different levels of accountability, both for the company and then also for the property manager.
Yes. And we're talking about this. So the first big point where you should start as an investor is relationship.
Yeah.
You need to be able to identify someone who you can have relationship with. And a lot of people think about business relationship and it's sort of this hat where it's like, we're just talking about business. No, but I think of it like I have a relationship and we're doing business together.
Right.
So what does that look like? What does a business relationship look like in property management?
It's somebody that you can trust, right?
Absolutely. So to that point, what is the process of finding someone that you can relationally connect with? So if you get on the phone with a client, what's the first question that you're asking them?
Oh yeah. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, right? So why are you not asking, tell me about your property?
Because ultimately we are wanting to start off on the foot of we want to have a relationship because that creates equity, like relational equity. That creates just kind of a generalized trust. Now I'm not talking about, like someone calls and I'm like, 10 minutes after the call or whatever, you're like, that's just, I wouldn't go to dinner with them.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the kind of relationship we're talking about.
Yes.
We're talking about a good working relationship where it's like, I know you as a client. When they start telling me about themselves, I can even kind of get a little bit of an idea of like, oh, wow, you're busy. Like, I understand why you're looking for a property management company. Or you're an attorney and you get it. There are some people that are specialized in what they do and it's worth paying them for it.
Yeah.
Right? And so you kind of start to get an idea of how am I going to relate with this person within our business.
Yes. Let me tell you why I asked the question.
Right.
Because I think it's important for everyone to know. And obviously, just so that everybody knows, obviously, Judy and I, we're husband and wife, and we think very independently. And when I'm recruiting clients, or when she's recruiting clients, it looks different. So, but one of the most powerful questions we've been able to really sink our teeth into is, tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
The reason that's so big for me is because it says that you have a standard about yourself. You're trying to recognize this is a two-way relationship.
Right.
Are you a good fit for how we operate?
Right.
And vice versa. We want to know as quickly as possible, hey, this is a good fit. This is going to work, right?
Right.
What is one story you've heard that you said, we're not a good fit? When you ask that question, tell me about yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely refusing to answer. Well, I'm not calling you to tell you about myself.
Yeah.
And this is something that we were just talking about
because we're relationship heavy.
Right. That they're basically there. They have already fallen into the price tag trap. Right? They're just calling to see
the price tag trap.
PTT.
I had to go close to the mic to just repeat that.
They've already done it. Like they made that phone call, and what they want from me or any other property management company is throw me the cheap.
Yeah.
Just tell me the price tag.
Yep.
And it's like, if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for the cheapest option, or if you're looking for the option that's going to give you the flashiest, price tag right off the bat.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it again. You're looking for the cheapest option.
Yeah.
What are you going to expect?
Yep.
The cheapest thing.
Yes.
Now, I get it. You have in your mind that you don't want to be paying more than what you feel like makes sense for property management. But at that juncture, you probably need to take a couple steps back and say, okay, what's the most important thing to me? It should be your bottom line, your net cash flow, right? So how do I keep the most money in my pocket?
Yes.
It's not by falling into the price tag trap. It's not. You need to understand the value of what you're getting, and relationship is a huge part of that.
Yes.
It is.
So here's the takeaway, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord. When you get on the phone with a potential property management company, let them tell you about their services and all of that stuff.
Right.
That's absolutely fine. But in the back of your mind, remember, the first thing you want to be able to identify is, can I work with this person?
Right.
So don't fall into the trap also of falling in love with the business development person, the salesperson. They're supposed to be likable. That's the reality, okay? So what you want to do is say, hey, I want to be able to talk. Before I make my decision, I want to talk to the property manager, person who's going to be managing my properties. The second big point under point number one is a personal one-on-one property manager. If you're going to be bouncing around, it's a challenge, right? You want to be able to have someone you can go straight to who's a decision maker, who's managing your property on your behalf.
Right.
That's the big number one. That's what you need to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's such a good point, because in property management, similar to other businesses, but 90% of the time it's going to be smooth sailing, right? And then you got that 10% of the time that you may be going through a turnover. There could be something happening at your property. And that's when you are really going to value that you're able to have a good working relationship with your property manager. Yes. And that you can trust the relationship that your property manager has with the property management company. Because ultimately, if it's smooth sailing, that's great. I mean, honestly, if it was always smooth sailing, just manage the property yourself,
Yes.
Like, do it yourself. But that's why you have a property management company. And your property manager, they are constantly setting the table. I don't know how to say it right, but
you're making me hungry though.
I mean, let's just go with that. They're setting the table so that when the people come to eat, it's ready. You know what I mean? You don't create a feast in 2 seconds. Yeah. It takes
setting
time.
you up for success.
Yeah, setting up for success. They're constantly setting you up for success.
I love it. Point number 2. Services. right?
Right.
So we've talked about services. We talked about what services does a property management provide. Not all property management companies are built the same.
Right.
They're not all cut from the same cloth.
They're not.
That's just the reality. So you need to understand what services are important to you. Take some time to write those things down. But what are some of the most important? Right off the top of your head, we don't have a list or anything like that. We have the points written on a whiteboard behind the camera so that this way we can reference them. Secrets. But we do this day in and day out. So for us, we want it to feel organic and you understanding like, hey, we're not trying to feed you something. We're sharing just from our experiences. So
yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, my shoes are over there and the setup just looks really good. So, and this is my first podcast, so I'm not used to looking at the camera.
Right.
And you're so pretty, I can't stop looking at you.
I know, then you just lose your train of thought, right? I know.
So,
he lives.
Services.
Yes.
Let's start with, what are the top 3 things you think of when you hear services? What should a landlord be looking for?
Rent collection, leasing, and maintenance.
Yes, maintenance for sure. And obviously there's a bunch of points that fall under that. One day when we're rocking and rolling, we'll have a list for you to subscribe to, and then you can come and we'll send you a list of all the services you should be looking for. Right. But I would say starting with those 3 is extremely important. Yeah. Right. So to elaborate a little bit on those 3 points. Yeah,
absolutely. So when you look at property management companies, they're all going to do some sort of rent collection, right? They're all going to do some sort of leasing, and they're all going to do some sort of maintenance coordination, even if it's like, hey, Mr. Owner, like let's say that they're okay with doing like co-management.
Yeah. Or
something like, hey, Mr. Owner, wanted to let you know the resident at your house, they're having issues with the garage door. When can you get out there? Okay. So that's going to be some coordination of maintenance, right? Now, when you're working with a property management company like Navigate, we're full service, turnkey, right? And so that's something to also think about. Don't fall into the price tag trap of just wanting to see what the fees are. Understand what you're getting for what you're paying. Like, what's the value that the property
Someone loves that phrase, huh?
Is bringing.
Price tag drop.
We're going to have to just do like a totally different entire podcast on that. But when you're talking to a property management company, ask them about their leasing, about their management of maintenance, and then also about the rent collection process. Okay? Because those are the 3 things that ultimately will really set you up to make the most money.
Yeah.
In the long run, your bottom line.
Yeah.
You're going to make the most money in the long run, your bottom line at the end of the year.
Yeah.
If you understand the value that you're getting from your property management company, maintenance, leasing, rent collection.
Yes. And here's the takeaway, guys. Make sure the services are listed on the agreement. Okay. Not just on their website or the salesman told me, blah, blah, blah. No. Make sure that it's actually written down.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? So those are the 2. Number 3, which is guarantees. Make sure you go over the guarantees, right? If they make a mistake or it needs to be results driven. Like we need to be able to say, okay, what if my property's sitting for 60 days?
Right. What if we can't get at least?
Yeah. And the days on market is 30. Something is not connecting here. So that's just one example. So what are some guarantees that should be included that should be typical? Obviously, there are some companies that have unique guarantees, but you want to be able to look them over and make sure these fit me well. This is what I'm looking for. That makes my heart feel warm.
Right. Well, I mean, it seems obvious, right? That good business means you stand behind what you do.
Yes.
Right. But property management, like many other things, is more a lot of times of an art than a science. I mean, there's certain things you know that you know, but you're dealing with so many different aspects, people and properties and vendors and the owners and, other real estate agents and other brokerages. There's a lot of moving pieces in property management. So I think you could really narrow it down. This is actually something that you said the other day. Like, what happens when it doesn't go perfect? Perfect is great. Perfect is wonderful.
No
but what
thing as
happens?
perfect.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So you want to be looking for excellence, but again.
Excellence, exactly. Can't be perfect. We can't strive for excellence. And so with a company that has services that they offer, right, you want to then ask, what are your guarantees behind those services that you offer? For example, if a maintenance guy goes out and he takes a look at a leaky toilet, right, and he fixes it and the owner pays for that to be done, and then a month later, the toilet's still leaking. Will your property management company either talk to that vendor and have them go back out and confirm if it's the same issue that they'll fix it again without additional charges, right? Mm-hmm. Or are they just, oh, it's leaking again. They put it back on the queue. It gets signed to a different vendor, and now it's costing you money again because it just went back into the queue in the system of the company because they're not actually looking at the process and they're not familiar with the property. That's where your property manager comes in, right?
Exactly, yep.
He's familiar with what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's a type of guarantee, right? Standing behind not just the property management company's work, but the people that the property management company works with.
Yep.
Because we work with lots of different companies and different people, right? I would say even like, let's say for leasing, one of our leasing guarantees is that if we place a resident in a home, right, and they ever have to go through eviction, we are not going to charge you any sort of administrative fees for going through that eviction. Why? Because we put them in there. Like, if we're saying that our leasing team is one of the best in the business, and then even if it's like 3 years down the road, they end up going rogue and we have to go through the eviction process, it just makes sense that if we're telling you we're going to do this well, and then it ends up being a situation that instead of making you money, you're put in a situation that can end up costing you money or losing money from not having rent, it only makes sense that then there would be a guarantee behind that says, hey, I know I told you that 99% of the time, like, we are on it for leasing, right? But in the rare event that there is an eviction, we are going to be there with you in that as well. We're going to do what we can to lighten that load. That's another example of a guarantee.
I love it. Guarantees. Make sure you know your guarantees, landlords. And then number 4, this is where we end. And this is the order that you should be going through, right? Number 1, start here, relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Number 2, what are the services? Right. What do they provide? And then number 3, guarantees. Yeah. And then you end here. This is where you end, which is the fees. The fees. And why do we say think about the fees at the end? Yeah, absolutely. Because if that property management company is coming through consistently with a good business relationship, right? If their services bring maximum value to you, right? And those services are backed up by guarantees, ultimately, those fees that you're paying month to month, it's worth it. If you're thinking that like, oh, well, if I can save 25% on leasing and then I don't want to pay more than $99 a month for management fees, that's cool. But like saving $120 a year because this management company will do it for $10 less a month. Yeah. Like that's one maintenance call. That's one non-guarantee. That's one more. That's one more day of your property on the market. Yeah. That's so. I like to say you're either going to pay now or you're going to pay later. But you're going to pay the price for hiring a bad property manager. You are. You have to pay your property. You have to be willing to pay your property manager what they're worth. What is their value? And that's why the relationship comes into play. You understanding the services, you understanding the guarantees, right? Because at the end you want to say, what do I want to pay for this? Right. Yeah. Right? Because at some point you're going to pay. Yeah. Either they're gonna have a bad resident move in, or they're not going to do a move out evaluation. Right. They're not going to handle the security deposit process. Somewhere you're going to end up paying. The property manager isn't going to know where that main water turnoff is, or that pipe burst, and that absolutely. You just at some point it will come back if you're looking for the cheaper option. Yes, and that's why you need a property manager also, because we know there's no way for anyone to be perfect. you need to know that you're hiring somebody of character who's going to step up to the plate and say, hey, we dropped the ball, but we're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
We got you.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we've taken care of situations like that. You just have you have to understand what type of relationship you have, how deep you're in with an investment, an asset. Right. So those things are extremely important. So property management fees, typically, from what I've seen, ranging from 6 to 10% these days. 10% is on the high end.
It is.
And it also depends on how much your property rents for, right? Like
Yeah.
if you have a property that's renting for $1,000, that's old and hard to deal with, you're going to see some of that percentage is going to go up for sure.
Right.
So, you just got to take some of those things into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah. I mean, you can always look at something as like North Texas standard, right? North Texas standard. Now, if you just Google that, you'll probably end up seeing something more like 8 to 12% for property management, right? And
so
again,
we're going to start doing 12%, is what you're saying.
What's that?
We got to start doing 12%.
No, we're not.
No, I feel like that's not competitive. And that's the most important thing for me is that we continue to stay competitive in the market.
Right.
I don't want to be the cheapest. I don't want to be the most expensive.
Right.
But I want to bring the most value
Yes.
and be competitive in the marketplace.
Right. Yeah. I think that
in North Texas, DFW, Frisco area.
The other
Collin
thing,
County, Dallas County, Tarrant County.
willing to travel. I think that a lot of times when you're talking to a property management company that does know their worth, they are consistent with the value that they bring, their guarantees, right? They're also going to know what it costs to keep the lights on. Like, and that's one of the things we talk about all the time, right? Like I would love to be able to tell clients, listen, if this call goes well, and then I introduce you to your property manager, and that's solid, we will manage your property for free. At least like monthly stuff, right? Because the reality is there's a cost of doing property management for the property management companies too. Yeah, and a lot of times that cost comes at the expense of a resident that we didn't place, but we inherited and now we're dealing with it, right?
Yes. Oh,
or an owner who really does not understand what it means to have to keep a property up to property code.
Yes.
Right? And so then it's like, oh my goodness, this is all going to start shaking down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we try to basically put together our fees based upon what we know it costs to do business, right? And then we look for those landlords that we can serve well. Because if we can serve you well and we can communicate well and we can make decisions about your property either independently, if it's not anything, crazy going on day to day, or contact you quickly, walk through the steps, like that saves you time and money. It saves us time and money. And so I would say like a lot of us being able to keep our fees honestly below industry standard is efficiency and relationship.
Landlords, do not hire a property manager based on fees exclusively. Hey guys, so before you leave, make sure to like and subscribe. Okay.
We're new at this. What's the two
Judy
things?
doesn't know anything about YouTube. Like and subscribe before you go.
Subscribe.
Please, holla.